Expected to be the main event for the July 16th card. And, of course, this will be Yair's second fight since 2019, the last one being on it was November of 2021 against Max Holloway. BC, size this up for me. Your level of excitement for Ortega versus Yair, and how important is this fight for either of them?
Luke, I think it was the Kings of Leon who said it best when they said, hey, this sex is on fire. I mean, this is, good Lord, forget, the top, 5 stakes in terms of potential title contention for either man, dude. This is a circle the calendar type of fight, in my opinion. Hell yeah. And Luke, given the amount of times both, I mean, less so with Yair, but really more with Ortega, has gotten to this high level and taken his big swing and come up empty. But, you go, man, I respect the hustle or the chin or the toughness or the, intention and all that. How many more of these runs does he have? And I think even though Yair hasn't had as many get to the top moments where he struck out, yeah, he lost to Max, but he fought his ass off, in something that only raised his stock. There's a lot at stake here in this fight. I mean, but I can separate that enough to just tell you, Hanover, Ohio, can you see the hard on that I've got from here to you right now? You know what I mean, Luke? I mean, are you kidding me, bro?
Dude, I mean, if you can't like this fight, you should not be a fight fan. I mean, I just don't even know what else to say beyond. This is, they say Styles.
You're a communist and you eat steak well done with ketchup if you don't like this fight, Luke.
That's probably fair. Like, you probably think shoeys are cool and your name is not tied to Ivasa, who can get away with it. They say styles make fights, and sometimes they mean that as a warning. I mean that as a compliment. It would be impossible for this fight to not be good. Now, I don't know if it will be the very best version of itself that it could be, but the very worst version of what it could be is still going to be much higher than the average fight's potential downside. And I don't even see one here. Brian Ortega takes advantage of guys just like Yair Rodriguez, yet conversely, Rodriguez's newfound, I think, well-roundedness, composure when he needs it, but also creativity could be a massive problem, especially at distance and early in a fight, or even late in a fight when Ortega takes a lot of damage, which is still a consistent problem for him. For a guy who takes a lot of damage already, to go up against a guy as creative and as rangy, but as explosive, but as unique as Yair, is a horrible matchup for him. These guys are terrible matchups for each other, which means this fight is going to be fucking bananas. Whenever you have a fight, like I remember before the first Hendo Shogun and where they were in that fight, I was thinking to myself, I don't know exactly how this one's going to play out, because Henderson's right hand is going to be a huge problem for Shogun, but Shogun's sort of overall Muay Thai brutality, if Henderson fades a little bit, is going to be a problem too. And the reality was, you saw both of those things come to life. Hendo was dealing in the first 3. Shogun dealt in the last 2 after having to make a comeback. I don't know which way this one's going to go, BC, but I've got Hendo Shogun 1 vibes all over this one.
I love that. Wow.
Incredible fight.
That's a bold statement that you just laid out, but, it may end up being warranted. And, Luke, I've got, I'm a big Brian Ortega fan. People know that about me, Luke, and I'm okay with that, okay? Because, I think him and I... We have different but similar levels of BDE going on, but the real analysis is this, Luke. I am a little
you and
nervous.
Brian Ortega have you and a very handsome athlete, a pro athlete. You two are peers.
It's the same funk, Luke. It smells the same. You can just tell. You can look in the man's eyes. Here's the point, though. I'm nervous because when he gets to that highest level, he turns into blood and guts warrior. he turns into Rocky Balboa, Luke, and he takes on incredible damage and doesn't necessarily lean on the craft that's there, the same craft that, made him look like $1 million against Korean Zombie when he came back after a 2-year break. Yair Rodriguez is too dangerous right now and too dialed in. I mean, the performance against Max Holloway in defeat was next level for him. You were like, oh, I didn't know he looked at it that way. You know what I mean? I didn't know he had leveled up. He's there. He's ready. It could be a bad night at the office for Ortega if he's like, if he gets lured back into another blood and guts thing, Luke. He's got to come here with he's got to change his game. There's something has to change, Luke. Tell me I'm crazy.
I don't think you're crazy at all. And I think that Ortega's wrestling is going to be pretty key here, because he should not, like, yes, if someone backs you up and throws something and overcommits, be a great time to, get a guillotine clamp or find the back, of course. But I wouldn't wait around on Yair Rodriguez if I was Ortega's team. You would want to be prepared for a scenario like that, certainly, but you would not want to be reliant upon him delivering those to you and then waiting on them. You're going to have to take that fight by the back of the scruff of the neck and make it yours. And then if those other situations reveal themselves, be ready for them. But to me, this is going to be a real test of Ortega's game planning and execution and everything else. And I think he's up to it. I thought he did it in the Korean zombie fight, albeit in a different direction. But, listen, you give Yair Rodriguez room to work, and you are going to have a very bad day. Conversely, if Rodriguez is not minding his P's and Q's, Brian Ortega is going to snatch his throat with a quickness. That's legit. Love this fight.
Absolutely, but for Ortega, I think it's head movement, Luke, because, yes, Alexander Volkanovski is a whole different level wizard, and he's adding, intention to his offensive aggression, and he's going after people. So, Volkanovski's going to find that strike zone against anyone, but Ortega was just there to be hit routinely again and again and again. Luke, I don't want this to be Ortega's blind spot, similar to somebody like Gaethje with jiu-jitsu and the lack of game there, where the fight can just end like that. I mean, I think Ortega's too good for that, but there's something that's always been so loose about him. You know what I mean? Like that surfer vibe.
The thing is, Ortega has such reactive jiu-jitsu. I'll throw up a triangle once you take me down. I'll look for a guillotine only if you do a head outside double or single or something like that. And what I'm saying is those are all valuable traits. But the problem is he doesn't, to your point, he takes too much damage before that happens. Now, He's gotten a lot of wins after the fact. Like, again, I go back to it. Renato Moicano was fucking him up until he made a strategic error, and then Brian Ortega does what he does. I'm saying against Yair Rodriguez, you cannot do that. You cannot wait around for him to do something like that. So what I think it's going to be not just what like individual skills he uses, the jab and whatnot. Dude, he's going to have to press Ortega backwards, and I would have to imagine a wrestling heavy component, or at least a wrestling active component, is going to have to be a big part of that. Finding his back, making him work from there as well. Because standing at range with that guy and waiting for him to deliver a mistake, it will happen, but you're going to eat a shitload of punishment along the way. Not acceptable.
I just think it's not just like a lust for action with Ortega. I just think there's something wiring wise that's a little bit off. Because, remember his rise, even when he was getting win after win, there'd be fights that were really competitive or that he was down on, yet he'd sort of miraculously in the third round, pull out a submission. And you're like, damn. There's part of him, Luke, that almost like feels subconsciously like he needs to go down on the scorecards before he can produce, that huge burst. And even his losses tend to have these moments, even against Holloway, where he stood his ground on the feet and was landing bombs, where it's like he's in love with that dramatic, comeback, but you don't need to always take it there. You know what I mean? Like, if he brings in the offensive wrestling, as you're saying, this could be different.